What's up, YouTube? So we're outside next to a river, and we're going to be doing the testing today of the mini survival FireFly knife. So I just want to go over a couple of stats of this knife real quick, talking about what it claims it can do, and we're gonna do a couple of tests today. We're gonna do the one stick fire, and then we'll also do a bow drill video after that, and maybe play around with some of the other stuff. So it comes with a little piece of paper with some stats and stuff on it. So it's called the FireFly. It says that a survival tool should be able to create fire, signal, and be able to create things out of wood. It claims that it's nearly indestructible. It's a one-piece knife, so the handle and blade are one piece put together. Not put together, there's just one piece. It's made out of D2 steel, slightly less than 2 inches. The blade is 1.980 inches. The overall length is 4.55 inches. The largest diameter, which I'm guessing is the handle here, it says 0.500, and it weighs 3.5 ounces. It's got a 90-degree spine. Talking about excellent scraping for tinder, sparking, the ferrocerium rod, which is in the handle. So it's got a ferrocerium rod in the handle, which is cool, and it's got a gasket to keep it waterproof. It says the belly of the blade is shaped to facilitate easy carving of a bow drill divot, but also to be able to use in the bow drill as a drill. So you can kind of see the curvature of the blade there. So we'll test that out in this series as well. It says the 7-strand paracord necklace is 3 feet long, but altogether it's over 21 feet, including like the strands inside, I guess. So that gives you enough cordage for a bow, fishing, trapping, shelter, and other uses. Let's see here. The handle is able to be used as a file with the jimping kind of knurling on it. Let's see here. So it's got a few other uses. Let's see. Oh, it's a whistle too, so we can try that one out. I haven't tried the whistle yet right now. Yeah, so we'll try the whistle out right now. So ferro rod hasn't been used yet. It's smaller. So let's see how this whistle works. You got to get the angle just right on these. So you can play around with the angle. It works just fine. It's not super loud, but I think if you played around with it, you could get it just a bit louder than that. So it's about a medium. Alright, so I'm going to get the camera flipped around, and I've gathered a couple of different materials to try this one stick fire. Thought I'd show you guys this piece of paper that it came with all the stats. It's in my previous video too, but I'll go ahead and show you this again. So for size comparison, you can see that this is not a huge knife. All right, let's start with this one. Actually, we'll start with this one. This will be more entertaining for me, because I like processing wood. I think processing wood is extremely entertaining. Let's make sure you guys are in the shot there. Okay, yeah, we're good. Probably move this back just a bit. This isn't the most perfect piece of wood. It does have a few knots in here and twists of the grain, so it's not the most perfect piece of wood, which is giving this a good test. All of this stuff out here is soaking wet. It rained all day yesterday. If you, this is splitting extremely easily. I would say that if this stuff wasn't wet, it would split even easier. As you can see, you don't got a whole lot of blade to work with, obviously. But we're giving it, we're putting it out to, whoa, is the extreme here. Now, you can see that this is a decently thick blade. We're actually going to do a little bit of comparing to other blades in a minute as well. I might switch that around and put that at the beginning of the video. Less than ideal conditions. So Le Baton's perfectly fine because it is so thick. Try to keep all this stuff dry. Check that out. Did that work out good or what? It has like a wedge to the knife that makes it extremely easy to split with. You can see I'm kind of maxing it out here. But because the wedge shape is so extreme on it, makes this pretty easy. Going through some knots here and there. Alright, definitely no problem there. It not being a perfect piece of wood, it won't split perfectly. It'll kind of sliver off, kind of how it's doing here. Alright, we're going to call that good for that, because I'm going to be making feather sticks next. So, at least with that one. So this one, go ahead and give this a try too. Oh, this guy's a bit more wet. I think you get the idea. Not too hard to work with. Once you get down to this wet or drier wood inside, it doesn't really matter where you start with it. Alright, I think we get the picture there. Let's do some feather sticking next. No damage on the blade or the tip, looks like. Let me see here. You might have just a teeny tiny roll at the very edge of the tip here. It's alright. I can look down the blade and I don't see any major issues or any real issues at all here, which is nice. Alright, so the inner wood's going to be a bit drier. Let's see how it feathers. I will say that it's a 3-finger knife, so it's interesting to get a purchase. You kind of got to finagle your grips a little bit differently than you may be used to. Dude, check this out. I just looked straight down and I found this was hiding under the rocks. Score. I was just fishing before this too. Nice. Small world. As you can see, it makes extremely fine curls. I will say it's a little hard to control the blade. I'm not used to such this angle coming off of the back, because that's so fat. It is slightly hard to control. It's not hard to control. Like if you're used to feathering, it's easy. This wood is pretty damp here, so this is going to be interesting to see if we can't get this fire going or not. So if you press down real hard, you'll get fat feathers like this. If you press down lightly, you'll get those lighter ones. If you write a curve on here, like this, these 90-degree edges, you can get a lot lighter feathers too. When you get chunky wood like that, it's a little too wet or a little too punky. This was a piece of wood that I just sawed off a tree that had fallen over. So it's easier to put hard pressure on this, which is creating the fatter curls. Go ahead and snap that off. Turn this around and come to the other side. Trying to go lighter to get a bunch of light curls. There we go. It's a little harder to control in that configuration. You can see your hand maybe cramping up using something so small. If you can get it to just catch and then not put a whole lot of force behind it, it'll create really fine curls, but it likes to cut deep like, you know, Scandinavian grind does. But it's possible to do both, that's for sure. Good shot, huh? And this goes to show that you can use any piece of wood to make feathers. You don't have to get a perfectly round stick or a perfectly shaped stick. You can use whatever you want. The cool thing about making feathers is if the wood's slightly damp, this will help dry it out relatively quickly. There we go. Creating a bunch of small little guys because obviously we're gonna have a small fire here. Let's see a piece maybe that's a little bit more ideal for this. Maybe this one. So a lot of times when you're creating a feather, you want a nice even surface, so you can just try to make it as straight as possible. The more curve you have in your piece, the harder it is going to be to carve a feather. Just like that off right there. And it likes to bite. Let's see if we can't pry that off of there. It's a little harder to cut it off the end like that. All right, so I'm gonna come back down here. So you can see that it does a pretty good job in that category. I'm not looking to make a huge fire here, so. Another thing, it really likes the tip here. If you focus on this part of the blade, it creates those finer feathers a lot easier on that rounded point. I want the fine ones because that's what I'm going to use to ignite. But it just wants to bite, so you just got to take your time with it. Go a little bit slow. Let me see here. You can also do a method where you're pulling it towards you, so we're going to give that a go here. I want to get the finest curls I can get. To give me the best chance of having this ferro rod work on it. I have a bunch of other natural tinder available, cottonwood bark and stuff, but you can see how fine these curls are. Beautiful. But it's soaking wet, unfortunately. But if I can get these guys fine enough, should be able to get a spark in here. All right, I'll do a few more of these and then I'll come back. All right, time to give it a try. Let's see if I did good enough here or not. So we're gonna have to scrape off some of this black stuff beforehand. There's usually coating that comes on these ferro rods. So we're gonna go ahead and scrape some of that off first. All right, because it's rounded, it's kind of hard to keep it flat on the surface of the There we go. Tell you what, had to work for that one. Will it work in an emergency? Yes. Probably not very well if your hands are freezing cold. The rod took a bit of a beating to be able to get where we needed to be. There's that little spot in the middle. I kept getting hung up on this spot, so I had to start coming off at a different angle. When you have that happen, you can you can scrape that off, but you can see the Cleans up pretty easy. That's nice. It's kind of funny because I actually feel like this side of the knife is sharper, or the spine, than this side, and I was using, well, that's the side I was using, I think. Yeah. Not the best scraper in the world, but it does well. It's a little hard to get a purchase on this rod here. You can see we did it. And little bit hard to use the rod, but hey, it worked. And I mean, I didn't want to make a huge old fire out here, but you know, good enough to get warm off of. Good enough for a little cooking fire. Mission complete.